Manifesting $10 million is as easy as manifesting $1. There is no difference between manifesting $1 and manifesting $10 million. At the end of the day, it's money. The amount doesn't matter, it's still money. $10 million isn't any different than $1. Don't think you can't manifest $10 million because of its amount. Just because it's a higher amount, it doesn't suddenly become something different. It's still money. The way of manifesting doesn't change whatsoever. If you can manifest $1, then you can also manifest $10 million. There is no difference. There is also no logic whatsoever in manifesting. It can literally unfold in the most surprising way. Our subconscious is programmed in a way that we tend to believe that certain things are too good for us or unachievable. You can have everything that you want. You can have everyone that you want. Nobody is better than you or too good for you. Nothing is unachievable, too good to be true or too good for you to have. If you think that manifesting $10 million is too good to be true, it will never happen. It's impossible to have it. Guess what? You'll never have it. That's why having faith is so important. You don't have to believe it will happen. Just have faith that it's possible and keep persisting in that faith. Now, I'm giving you a simple yet powerful technique to manifest your desires. The technique is called the ladder technique. The ladder technique is a simple yet powerful exercise designed to demonstrate the effectiveness of visualization and to help individuals develop their ability to manifest their desires. Find a quiet and comfortable place where you won't be disturbed. Sit or lie down in a relaxed position. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing at the bottom of a ladder. Visualize the ladder in as much detail as possible. See its rungs, its material, and its surroundings. Engage your senses in the visualization. Feel the texture of the ladder rungs beneath your hands as you grasp them. Hear the sound of your footsteps as you climb the ladder. Smell the air around you. Make the experience as vivid and real as possible. Begin to mentally climb the ladder rung by rung. As you ascend, feel the sensation of progress and accomplishment. Imagine yourself becoming more and more confident with each step you take. Climb back down when you reach the top. Repeat this in your imagination. When you reach back down, climb back up. Once you feel like your imagination is so real, you can stop. Now write on a paper, "I will not climb the ladder." Be sure you will see every morning what you wrote, that I will not climb the ladder. You must do this and mean in your heart that you will not climb the ladder. Repeat the climbing the ladder exercise in your imagination for 3 nights. Right before you sleep every day, fall asleep doing this exercise. Climb the ladder. When you wake up, you will see what you wrote, that I will not climb the ladder. In the conclusion, if you successfully impressed your subconscious mind after this exercise, you will manifest in your reality climbing a ladder. You can do this exercise with anything you ever wish. If you wish to have $10 million, visualize every night counting money. Fall asleep visualizing. Visualize yourself living the life you desire with the money you want to manifest. Imagine the feelings associated with having that money and how it would change your circumstances. Write on a paper, I will not make $10 million. See it every morning. Every night visualize having $10 million. In the morning, see what you wrote, that I will not make $10 million. If you successfully impressed your subconscious mind, you will see an increase of your income through multiple ways, from multiple sources. The ladder technique, also called the ladder experiment. What you imagine and impress on your subconscious mind is more powerful than what you tell yourself consciously. And you can use the same powerful imagination to manifest any desire. By using the negation, not you detach from your wish. And like this, there will be no tension on your wish to manifest. You will be detached. You will let go your wish. When you detach, it manifests.
thought you when you appreciate what you have, you open the door for more. playing where others see problems. Act with the confidence of someone who has already made it. The world bends to those who move with certainty. The first step to winning is believing you already have.
What if I told you that every wealthy person you admire, from Rockefeller to Gates to Bezos, discovered one secret that the masses will never know? What if the reason you're still struggling financially has nothing to do with your work ethic, your education, or even your circumstances? What if wealth was never meant to be earned, but remembered? Stay with me, because by the end of this revelation, you'll never look at money the same way again. My friends, I must tell you something that will disturb your peace, but it will set you free. You have been living under a spell, a collective hypnosis so complete, so pervasive, that you mistake it for reality itself. From the moment you drew your first breath, you were indoctrinated into the religion of lack. Your parents, meaning well, taught you that money doesn't grow on trees. Your teachers convinced you that only the smart ones or the lucky ones become wealthy. Society programmed you to believe that abundance belongs to everyone except you. But here's what they never told you. Wealth is not a reward for good behavior. It is your natural inheritance. The entire economic system is built on one fundamental lie, that there isn't enough to go around. This scarcity programming runs so deep that even when money flows into your life, you sabotage it. You spend it quickly, lose it mysteriously, or feel guilty for having it. And here's the most shocking part. The wealthy elite know this secret and deliberately keep it hidden. Why? Because a population that knows its true power cannot be controlled. You see, they need you to believe in limitation. They need you to accept that wealth is reserved for the chosen few. They need you to think that your circumstances determine your destiny. Because the moment you realize that consciousness creates reality, not the other way around, their entire house of cards collapses. I have walked among the wealthy, lived in their circles, observed their methods, and I can tell you without hesitation, they do not work harder than you. They do not sacrifice more than you. They do not deserve it more than you. The only difference is in their consciousness, their unwavering assumption of abundance. Now let me share with you the most profound truth about money that has ever been spoken. Money is not a thing. It is a state of consciousness. Everything in this universe is vibration. Your thoughts vibrate. Your emotions vibrate. And yes, money vibrates at a specific frequency. The wealthy don't work harder. They vibrate differently. Think of your consciousness like a radio dial. Right now, most of you are tuned to the frequency of struggle, 93.5 FM. Struggle. You're broadcasting lack, limitation, and I hope this works out. But wealth broadcasts on an entirely different station, 98.5 FM. Abundance. The multimillionaires I've known personally don't wake up wondering if they'll have enough. They don't check their bank balance with anxiety. They don't negotiate from desperation. They operate from a place of absolute knowing that money flows to them as naturally as water flows downhill. But here's what will shock you even more. This frequency of abundance is not something you develop. It's something you return to. You were born broadcasting abundance. It was your natural state before the world taught you to tune into scarcity. Watch a child at play. They assume they can have anything they desire. They don't question their worthiness. They don't calculate odds. They simply assume with complete faith that their wishes will be fulfilled. This is your original consciousness, before it was corrupted by well-meaning adults who had forgotten their own power. The good news is that you can tune into this frequency right now. You don't need to wait for permission, education, or the perfect opportunity. The dial is in your hands. The moment you stop trying to get wealth and start being wealthy in consciousness, everything shifts. Opportunities appear. People respond differently. Resources become available. Not because the external world changed, but because your inner world transformed first. Let me tell you about the conversation happening in your mind right now. As you listening this, one voice is saying, "This sounds too good to be true." Another is whispering, "But what about my bills? What about my responsibilities?" This, my friend, is the voice of your conditioning. It's not your voice. It's the collective voice of everyone who taught you to fear abundance. The wealthy have a completely different inner conversation. When they see an expensive item, they don't think, I can't afford that. They think, how can I afford that? When they encounter an opportunity, they don't ask, what if I fail? They declare, this is mine. Their mental diet consists of thoughts of expansion, not contraction. They feed their consciousness with images of overflow, not images of lack. But here's the secret within the secret. They don't think these thoughts to get rich. They think these thoughts because they already know they are rich. I once knew a man who built a fortune from nothing. When I asked him the secret, he said, Neville, I never once doubted I was meant to be wealthy. Even when I had no money, I knew I was rich. It was just a matter of time before the world caught up to my inner knowing. This is the consciousness of the wealthy. They don't hope for abundance, they expect it. They don't work for wealth, they work from wealth. They don't try to become prosperous, they assume they already are. Now, I'm going to reveal to you the exact mental conversation that has created more millionaires than any business strategy. But first, you must understand why your current inner dialogue is sabotaging every opportunity. The poor man's inner conversation sounds like this. I hope this works. Maybe I'll get lucky. I'll try my best. I can't afford to fail. The wealthy man's inner conversation sounds like this. This will work. I am fortunate. I am successful. Failure is not an option because I am abundance itself. Do you see the difference? The poor man speaks from hope and fear. The wealthy man speaks from knowing and power. One is begging reality to change. The other is commanding it to conform to his consciousness. Your words are not mere sounds. They are creative forces. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you're creating more of not being able to afford. Every time you declare, I am wealthy, you're impressing your subconscious with the reality of wealth. Now I'm going to give you the master key that unlocks every financial door. The feeling is the secret. You see, most people have it backwards. They think, when I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. But the truth is, when you feel abundant, then you get the money. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real experience and an imagined one. If you can genuinely feel what it's like to have financial freedom, not just think about it, but feel it, your subconscious will move heaven and earth to make it your reality. Close your eyes right now. Imagine checking your bank account and seeing more money than you've ever had. Don't just see the numbers, feel the relief, the freedom, the power. Feel how your shoulders relax. Feel how your breathing deepens. Feel the quiet confidence that comes with true security. That feeling you just experienced. That's not fantasy. That's memory. You're remembering your natural state before the world convinced you to forget it. But feeling wealthy once is not enough. You must make this feeling your habitual state. You must feel abundant when you wake up in the morning. You must feel prosperous when you're paying bills. You must feel wealthy even when your bank account tells a different story. This is not pretending. This is recognizing. You're not faking abundance. You're remembering it. Because the truth is, abundance is your natural state. Scarcity is the illusion. I have seen this principle work countless times. A woman I knew felt so wealthy in her imagination that she began walking differently, speaking differently, carrying herself differently. Within months, she received an inheritance she didn't even know existed. A man felt so prosperous that he started making decisions from abundance rather than fear. Soon, his business tripled in value. The feeling always comes first. The manifestation always follows. But here's what most people don't realize. You're already feeling your way into your future. If you feel poor, you're creating more poverty. If you feel stuck, you're creating more stagnation. I'm about to show you how to redirect this creative power. Now here's a technique that has created more millionaires than any business strategy ever could. Instead of affirming, I will be wealthy, you must affirm, I am wealthy. Instead of saying, I want financial freedom, you declare, I have financial freedom. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever you persistently claim about yourself as true. If you keep saying, I'm trying to get rich. It will keep you in a state of trying. But if you consistently claim, I am prosperous, it must externalize that claim. But, and this is crucial, you must feel the truth of what you're claiming. Empty words create empty results. When you say, I am wealthy, you must generate the feeling of wealth within your being. I'm about to share now with you the most powerful wealth affirmation ever created, one that has transformed paupers into princes. But first, you must understand why most affirmations fail. The reason most affirmations produce no results is that people recite them mechanically, without feeling, without faith, without the assumption of their truth. They hope the words will work magic, but words without feeling are dead. The correct technique is this. You must speak your affirmations from the consciousness of already being what you affirm. When you say, I am wealthy, you must feel yourself to be wealthy. You must speak from wealth, not toward wealth. Here's the most powerful wealth affirmation I have ever discovered. I am the operant power of God, and my consciousness of abundance is now externalizing itself as unlimited financial prosperity in my world. But don't just repeat these words. Feel them, know them, become them. Let them permeate every cell of your being until you no longer hope they're true. You know they're true. The reason your previous attempts at wealth consciousness have failed is simple. You were trying to convince yourself rather than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you repeat, I am rich, while feeling poor, you create internal conflict. Your subconscious rejects the affirmation because it contradicts your emotional state. The wealthy don't affirm their wealth. They assume it. They don't try to feel abundant. They are abundant in their consciousness first, and the external world conforms. Here's the correct technique. Instead of mechanically repeating words, you must assume the feeling of wealth as your natural state. Walk as though you're wealthy. Speak as though you're wealthy. Make decisions as though you're wealthy. Not because you're pretending, but because you're remembering who you really are beneath the layers of conditioning. I must tell you about the great law that governs all manifestation. As within, so without. As above, so below. Your external world is nothing more than a reflection of your internal world. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. Most people try to change their circumstances first, hoping this will change how they feel. But this is working backward. You must change your consciousness first, and your circumstances will conform to match your new state of being. Now I'm going to reveal the one technique that has never failed to produce wealth when properly applied. But I must warn you, this requires complete abandonment of your current limited identity. This is the visualization technique that has created more fortunes than all the business books combined. Every night before sleep, construct a scene that implies you already possess the wealth you desire. Don't visualize getting the money, visualize having it. See yourself writing a large check to charity without a second thought. Feel yourself casually purchasing something expensive. Imagine friends congratulating you on your success. Make it real in your imagination. Hear the sounds, see the colors, feel the textures. Loop this scene until it becomes so natural, so familiar, that it feels like a memory rather than a fantasy. But here's the crucial part most people miss. You must feel the naturalness of wealth. You must imagine wealth as your normal, everyday reality, not as something exciting or surprising, but as your natural state. The wealthy don't get excited about money. They expect it. They don't marvel at abundance. They assume it. Your visualization must capture this feeling of naturalness, this assumption that wealth is simply who you are. I knew a man who visualized signing contracts for millions of dollars, but he made a crucial error. In his imagination, he was excited and grateful, as if receiving wealth was unusual for him. Years passed with no results. Then I taught him to imagine wealth as natural to him. Within 6 months he signed his first $1 million contract. But here's the part that separates the dreamers from the achievers. You must persist in this assumption, even when your bank account tells a different story. And I'm about to tell you exactly how to do that. The key is to make your imagined wealth more real to you than your current circumstances. Your imagination must become so vivid, so natural, so familiar, that it feels more true than what your senses report. When you achieve this state, when your imagined wealth feels more real than your current poverty, the transformation is inevitable. your subconscious mind will begin to externalize what it has accepted as true. The ultimate secret of wealth consciousness is this: you must live from your desire, not for your desire. Most people live for wealth. They work for it, hope for it, pray for it. But the truly wealthy live from wealth. They think from wealth, feel from wealth, act from wealth. This is what I mean by living in the end. You don't live in anticipation of becoming wealthy. You live from the assumption that you already are wealthy. When you truly live in the end, opportunities appear that were always there but invisible to your previous state of consciousness. People begin treating you differently. Doors open, coincidences multiply. Why? Because you're no longer broadcasting the frequency of lack. You're transmitting abundance, and the world must respond accordingly. Living in the end means making decisions from your desired state, not your current circumstances. It means feeling grateful for wealth you haven't yet seen. It means carrying yourself with the dignity and confidence of someone who has already arrived. I once taught this principle to a struggling actor. Instead of auditioning from desperation, I told him to audition from the consciousness of already being a successful star. The very next audition, he booked a role that launched his career. Why? Because he was no longer trying to become successful. He was already successful in consciousness, and his external world conformed. Now I'm going to reveal the 3-step wealth formula that has never failed when properly applied. But I must warn you, this requires complete faith in your own creative power. Make a definite decision about the exact amount of wealth you desire, and by when you will have it. Not I hope or I would like, but I will have. Your decision must be firm, definite, and final. No wavering, no second guessing, no changing your mind based on circumstances. When you truly decide, you cut off all other possibilities and commit completely to your desired outcome. Step 2. Assume. From this moment forward, assume the consciousness of already possessing this wealth. Think from it, feel from it, act from it. This is not pretending. This is recognizing what is already true in a higher dimension of reality. Your assumption must be so complete that you forget you ever lacked wealth. It must become more natural to you than breathing. Step 3. Persist. Regardless of appearances, regardless of current circumstances, persist in this assumption until it hardens into fact. Persistence means maintaining your assumption despite contradictory evidence. It means feeling wealthy when the bills pile up. It means assuming abundance when others tell you to be realistic. It means never abandoning your vision, no matter what the world shows you. This is not positive thinking. This is applied consciousness. You're not trying to attract wealth. You're claiming your inheritance. But here's what most people don't understand about persistence. It's not about forcing or struggling. True persistence is effortless because it's based on knowing, not hoping. Let me explain. True persistence feels natural because you're not trying to make something happen. You're allowing what is already true to unfold. When you truly know you are wealthy, maintaining that consciousness requires no effort, just as it requires no effort to know your own name. Once you've impressed your subconscious with the reality of your wealth, it will create what I call the bridge of incidents, a series of events that will lead you naturally to your desired end. You might receive an unexpected opportunity. Someone might introduce you to the right person. An idea might come to you in the shower. A chance encounter might change everything. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural unfolding of your impressed subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is infinitely intelligent and infinitely creative. Once it accepts your assumption of wealth as true, it will find ways to externalize that assumption that your conscious mind could never have devised. I have seen the most remarkable bridges unfold. A woman assumed she was financially free, and within weeks she discovered a valuable painting in her attic that she inherited from a forgotten relative. A man felt himself to be prosperous, and his estranged brother contacted him about a business opportunity that made them both millionaires. The bridge might be simple or complex, obvious or mysterious, but it will always appear once your assumption is firm and your feeling is natural. But here's what most people don't realize. Your subconscious is already creating bridges, but they're bridges to more of what you currently believe about yourself. I'm about to show you how to redirect this creative power. If you believe you're unlucky, your subconscious creates incidents that prove you're unlucky. If you believe money is hard to come by, it creates incidents that make money scarce. If you believe you're not worthy of wealth, it creates incidents that confirm your unworthiness. But the moment you change your assumption, the bridge changes direction. Instead of leading you to more lack, it leads you to abundance. Instead of confirming your limitations, it proves your power. This is why consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is just the shadow cast by your inner world. The reason most people stay poor is not lack of opportunity, it's lack of identity. They identify as someone who struggles, someone who just gets by, someone who never quite makes it. Your identity is nothing more than your habitual way of thinking about yourself, and habits can be changed. Begin now to think of yourself as wealthy, not becoming wealthy, but as inherently, naturally, deservedly wealthy. This isn't arrogance. This is recognition of your true nature. When you truly embody wealth consciousness, you stop asking, how can I make money? And start asking, how can I best express my abundance? Your identity shapes everything. How you walk, how you talk, what opportunities you notice, what relationships you attract, what decisions you make. Change your identity, and you change your entire life. I knew a man who worked as a janitor, but identified himself as a businessman. He carried himself with dignity, spoke with confidence, and made decisions from prosperity consciousness. Within 2 years, he owned a cleaning company that employed dozens of people. His external circumstances followed his internal identity. And here's the secret that will accelerate your wealth beyond anything you've ever imagined. There's a specific identity that attracts money like a magnet. The identity that attracts wealth is this: I am the source of my supply, not your job, not your investments, not other people. You are the source. When you truly know this, opportunities flow to you from all directions because you're not depending on any single channel. There is a consciousness that magnetizes money, a specific way of being that attracts financial opportunities like iron filings to a magnet. This consciousness has nothing to do with greed or materialism. It's based on understanding your true relationship to abundance. When you realize that you are consciousness itself, and that consciousness is the substance from which all things are made, you understand that you are the creator of your wealth, not the victim of circumstances. This consciousness carries itself differently. It speaks differently. It thinks differently. It doesn't chase money because it knows money chases it. People with magnetic money consciousness don't work harder. They work from a different level of being. They don't struggle for opportunities. Opportunities seek them out. They don't compete for resources. Resources flow to them naturally. I have observed this consciousness in the wealthiest individuals I've known. They possess an unshakable knowing that abundance is their natural state. They never doubt their worthiness. They never question their ability to create wealth. And now I'm going to give you the exact technique to develop this magnetic consciousness. But be warned, once you truly embody this, your entire life will reorganize itself around abundance. The technique is simple but profound. For the next 30 days, assume that everything you touch turns to gold. Not literally, but energetically. Assume that every conversation leads to an opportunity. Assume that every person you meet is a potential blessing. Assume that every situation contains the seeds of prosperity. This assumption will gradually become your natural state. And when it does, you will become a magnet for wealth in all its forms. Most people try to climb the ladder of success rung by rung. But there's another way. The quantum leap. This is when you bypass the normal progression and jump directly to your desired level of wealth through consciousness alone. Quantum leaps happen when your consciousness undergoes a complete transformation. You don't gradually become wealthy. You suddenly realize you always were wealthy, and your external world scrambles to catch up. I have witnessed these quantum leaps many times. A person spends years struggling, then suddenly their consciousness shifts, and within months their financial situation completely transforms. Not through gradual improvement, but through sudden, dramatic change. The key to the quantum leap is complete acceptance of your new identity. You must abandon your old self so completely that going back becomes impossible. You must burn the bridges to your former consciousness. This requires courage, because you must let go of everything familiar, your excuses, your limitations, your victim stories, your struggle identity. You must be willing to become someone entirely new. And here's something that will shock you. Most people unconsciously resist the very wealth they consciously desire. They sabotage their own success through hidden beliefs they don't even know they carry. Deep down, many people believe that wealth will corrupt them, isolate them, or make them bad people. They've been conditioned to believe that money is the root of evil, that rich people are greedy, that spiritual people shouldn't care about material things. These unconscious beliefs create massive resistance to abundance. Even when opportunities appear, they find ways to reject them or sabotage them. I once worked with a man who desperately wanted wealth, but unconsciously feared it would change him for the worse. Every time he started to succeed, he would make self-destructive decisions that brought him back to struggle. Only when he resolved his hidden resistance did his wealth begin to flow freely. The solution is to examine your deepest beliefs about money and wealthy people. What did your parents teach you about wealth? What does your religion say about money? What judgments do you carry about the wealthy? Until you resolve these hidden conflicts, your conscious desires will battle your unconscious resistance, and resistance always wins. But there's one belief about wealth that's more destructive than all others combined. And if you carry this belief, no amount of effort will ever make you truly wealthy. The most destructive belief is this: I don't deserve wealth. This belief is so devastating because it's often hidden beneath layers of justification and rationalization. People think they want wealth, but deep down, they believe they're not worthy of it. This unworthiness might stem from childhood experiences, religious conditioning, or social programming. But regardless of its source, it must be rooted out and replaced with the truth. You deserve abundance because you are life itself expressing in human form. Every wealthy person I've known has certain rituals, not superstitions, but consciousness practices that maintain their abundance mindset. These rituals keep them aligned with wealth consciousness, even when external circumstances fluctuate. Some visualize their wealth every morning upon waking. Others practice gratitude for abundance they haven't yet seen. Many make decisions throughout the day from their desired state rather than their current circumstances. The key is consistency. These aren't occasional practices, but daily rituals that maintain their wealth consciousness as naturally as breathing. I recommend developing your own wealth rituals. Perhaps you start each day by feeling grateful for your abundance. Maybe you end each day by visualizing your financial goals as already achieved. Or you might practice making decisions from wealth consciousness throughout the day. The specific ritual matters less than the consistency and feeling behind it. These practices gradually transform your habitual way of being until wealth consciousness becomes your natural state. Now I'm going to reveal the most powerful wealth ritual I have ever discovered. It requires only 10 minutes each day. But those 10 minutes must be given with complete devotion and unwavering focus. Every evening before sleep, sit quietly and enter into the feeling of being wealthy. Not thinking about wealth, not visualizing wealth, but actually feeling yourself to be wealthy right now. Feel the security, the freedom, the power, the peace that comes with true abundance. Let this feeling fill every cell of your being. Make it so real that your current circumstances fade into insignificance. Then, from this feeling of wealth, give thanks. Thank God, the universe, your higher self, whatever resonates with you, for your abundance. Feel genuine gratitude for wealth that exists in your consciousness, even if not yet in your bank account. End by making this declaration: I am grateful for my wealth. I am worthy of my abundance. I am the source of my supply. It is done. Then release it completely. Don't think about it. Don't worry about how it will come. Don't check for results. Simply trust that consciousness creates reality, and what you have accepted in consciousness must externalize in your world. This ritual must be performed with the faith of a child and the persistence of a saint. Miss no days. Doubt not the outcome. Know that you are impressing your subconscious mind with the reality of wealth, and that this impression must externalize as surely as seeds must sprout. And here's what separates those who succeed with this ritual from those who fail. The secret ingredient that transforms this ritual from mere technique to miracle-working power is love. You must love the feeling of wealth. You must love abundance itself. You must love the version of yourself that is wealthy. Most people approach wealth manifestation with desperation, need, or fear. But these emotions repel abundance. Wealth is attracted only to love. Love of prosperity. Love of abundance. Love of the wealthy self you're becoming. When you truly love wealth consciousness, when you find joy in feeling abundant, when you delight in imagining your prosperous life, then the ritual becomes not work, but pleasure. And what you do with love and joy comes to you effortlessly. Love dissolves all resistance. Love eliminates all doubt. Love makes the impossible inevitable. Fall in love with your wealthy self. Fall in love with abundance. Fall in love with the feeling of prosperity. When you do, wealth will fall in love with you. My friends, I leave you with this ultimate truth. You are not poor waiting to become rich. You are rich pretending to be poor. Wealth is not something you achieve. It's something you remember. It's not a destination. It's your point of departure. The money you desire already exists. The opportunities already exist. The abundance already exists. What's missing is your recognition of these facts. Stop trying to get rich and start remembering that you are rich. Not in some future moment, but right now in your consciousness. And here's the final secret, the one that changes everything. The moment you stop needing wealth to feel complete, wealth flows to you effortlessly. The moment you stop chasing abundance, abundance chases you. The moment you realize you are already whole, your world reorganizes itself to reflect your wholeness. This is the great paradox of manifestation. You must already be what you desire to be in order to have what you desire to have. You are consciousness itself, temporarily focused through human form. You are the operant power of creation, the very force that speaks worlds into existence. You are not a beggar at the feast of life. You are the host. The question isn't whether this works. It's whether you'll have the courage to apply it. Because once you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, you can never again blame your circumstances for your financial condition. The choice is yours. Continue living the lie of limitation, or awaken to the truth of your infinite abundance. Remember, assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Your wealthy life is waiting for you to claim it. The only question is, when will you stop postponing your own greatness? The time is now. The power is yours. The choice is always yours. I am wealthy. I am abundant. I am prosperous. It is done. If you believe that working harder will make you wealthy, you are operating under one of the most dangerous delusions known to man. Today, I'm going to shatter this illusion and reveal to you the one thing that separates the wealthy from the poor. And it has nothing to do with your effort, your education, or your circumstances. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely transform how you think about wealth and success. My friends, let me begin with a story that will illustrate the profound truth I wish to share with you today. There once was a man who worked 3 jobs. He woke at 4 a.m., returned home at midnight, and repeated this cycle for 20 years. His hands were calloused, his back ached, and his bank account remained stubbornly empty. Meanwhile, his neighbor, a man who seemed to work less, stress less, and enjoy life more, accumulated wealth effortlessly. The hard-working man would often say, "Life is unfair. I work so much harder than him, yet he has everything, while I have nothing." But you see, my friends, this man had fallen into the trap that ensnares millions, the belief that physical effort alone creates wealth. He had confused activity with achievement, motion with progress. Now, before you think I'm about to tell you to work less, let me share the shocking truth about what actually creates wealth and why 99% of people will never discover it. The truth is this: wealth is not created by your hands, but by your imagination, not by your sweat, but by your state of consciousness, not by what you do, but by what you assume to be true about yourself. I have observed thousands of individuals throughout my years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the wealthy possess one quality that the poor lack entirely. They live in the consciousness of wealth before they have any physical evidence of it. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, for it will seem contrary to everything you've been taught. The wealthy do not work hard to become wealthy. They become wealthy in consciousness first, and then the physical world rearranges itself to match their inner state. Let me share with you an experience from my own life. Years ago, I found myself in circumstances that would have discouraged most men. I had no money, no prospects, and no apparent way forward. But I had discovered a secret that changed everything. Instead of working harder at my circumstances, I began to work on my consciousness. Each night, before sleep, I would imagine myself as the man I wanted to become. I would feel the satisfaction of financial freedom, the peace of security, the joy of abundance. I didn't merely think about these things. I felt them as real, as present, as already accomplished. What happened next will challenge everything you believe about how wealth is created. But first, let me explain the dangerous trap that keeps most people poor forever. The trap, my friends, is this: most people work from the consciousness of lack while trying to create abundance. They affirm poverty while seeking wealth. They declare their limitations while praying for expansion. Every morning they wake up and say, "I have to work hard to make money." Do you see the assumption embedded in that statement? They assume that money is scarce, that it requires struggle, that they must sacrifice their time and energy to obtain it. But wealth flows to those who assume it naturally, effortlessly, and inevitably. Now, let me be very clear about what I mean by consciousness. I am not speaking of positive thinking or wishful dreaming. I am speaking of a fundamental shift in your concept of self. The wealthy person does not hope to be wealthy. They know they are wealthy. They do not work to create wealth. They work from the consciousness of wealth. They do not struggle to attract money. Money flows to them because they have become a magnet for it through their state of being. But here's where most people make the fatal mistake that keeps them trapped in poverty forever. They try to change their circumstances instead of changing this one thing. The thing they must change is their self-concept. Your self-concept is the sum total of all the beliefs you hold about yourself. It is your answer to the question, who am I? If you believe you are someone who must work hard to earn money, you will always find yourself working hard for money. If you believe you are someone who struggles financially, you will always find evidence of financial struggle. If you believe you are limited by your circumstances will always limit you. But if you believe, truly believe, that you are wealthy, that abundance is your natural state, that money flows to you easily and consistently, then this must become your experience. How do you change your self-concept? Through the practice of assumption. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must live in the consciousness of what you want to be, not what you currently appear to be. Every night, as you prepare for sleep, imagine yourself as the wealthy person you want to become. Feel what it feels like to have complete financial freedom. Sense the peace, the security, the joy of abundance. Make it so real in your imagination that it becomes more real than your current circumstances. Now I'm going to share with you the exact technique that has created more millionaires than any business strategy or investment plan ever could. But you must promise me you'll actually use it. The technique is this: revision of your financial story. Right now, you have a story about money. Perhaps it's a story of struggle, of never having enough, of having to work hard for every dollar. This story is not serving you. It is, in fact, imprisoning you. Tonight, I want you to revise this story. In your imagination, go back to your earliest memories about money. Revise them. See yourself as always having enough, as naturally attracting wealth, as being blessed with abundance. Then revise your present circumstances. In your imagination, see your bank account with the balance you desire. Feel the satisfaction of financial security. Sense the freedom that comes with abundance. Do this consistently, persistently, and with feeling, and you will be amazed at how quickly your outer world begins to conform to your inner vision. Now you might ask, but Neville, don't I need to take action? Don't I need to work? My friends, I am not advocating laziness. I am advocating intelligent effort. When you work from the consciousness of wealth, your actions become inspired, effortless, and effective. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. Opportunities appear, doors open, people help you. But when you work from the consciousness of lack, your efforts become desperate, forced, and ultimately futile. You work harder and harder, while getting further and further away from your goal. Let me share with you the one question that separates the wealthy from the poor. It's so simple, yet so profound, that it will change your life forever. The question is this: what would I do if I were already wealthy? Not, what do I need to do to become wealthy? But what would I do if I were already wealthy? The wealthy person asks this question naturally, because they already see themselves as wealthy. They make decisions from the consciousness of abundance, not from the consciousness of lack. This brings me to one of the most important principles I can share with you. Live from the end. Do not live from your current circumstances. Do not live from your past experiences. Do not live from your fears and limitations. Live from the end, from the assumption that you already are what you want to become. If you want to be wealthy, live as if you already are wealthy. Make decisions as a wealthy person would make them. Think thoughts that wealthy people think. Feel feelings that wealthy people feel. This is not pretense. This is creation. You are not pretending to be wealthy. You are becoming wealthy by assuming the consciousness of wealth. Let me share with you the most powerful wealth-building secret I've ever discovered. It's so counterintuitive that most people will never believe it, but those who do will never be poor again. The secret is this: wealth is not something you get, it's something you are. You do not become wealthy by accumulating money. You accumulate money by becoming wealthy in consciousness. The money is merely the external expression of your internal state. This is why people who win the lottery often end up broke again. They never changed their consciousness. They got the money, but they never became wealthy. And this is why some people seem to create wealth effortlessly over and over again. Even when they lose everything, they have become wealthy in consciousness, and the external world must conform to their internal state. For the next 30 days, live as if you are already wealthy, not in your actions necessarily, but in your consciousness. Assume the feeling of wealth. Think from wealth. Feel from wealth. Be wealthy in your imagination until it becomes real in your experience. Remember, my friends, imagination is not an escape from reality. Imagination is reality. The world you see around you is nothing more than the outpicturing of human imagination. Change your imagination, and you change your world. Now let me share with you another profound truth that will deepen your understanding. Money, like everything else in this universe, is energy in motion. It has what we might call a vibrational quality, a frequency that attracts like unto itself. When you worry about money, when you stress about bills, when you feel anxiety about your financial future, you are broadcasting a signal of lack. And the universe, which is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out, responds by sending you more experiences that match that signal of lack. But when you feel abundant, when you feel wealthy, when you feel secure and at peace with your financial life, you broadcast a completely different signal. You become a magnet for wealth, because you are vibrating at the frequency of wealth. And here's something that will shock you. Most people are actually repelling money while desperately trying to attract it. They're doing one thing that guarantees poverty, and they don't even realize it. What they're doing is this: they're focusing on the absence of money rather than the presence of it. They're thinking about debt instead of abundance. They're worried about what they don't have instead of appreciating what they do have. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how creation works. You cannot create from a place of lack. You cannot attract abundance while focusing on scarcity. You cannot manifest wealth while feeling poor. Let me be very specific about what I mean by feeling wealthy. I'm not talking about fake enthusiasm or forced positivity. I'm talking about a deep, settled knowing that you are provided for, that you are abundant, that money flows to you easily and naturally. This feeling might come to you when you're walking in nature and you suddenly feel connected to the infinite abundance of the universe. It might come when you're genuinely grateful for what you already have. It might come when you realize that you've always been taken care of, that somehow, some way, your needs have always been met. When you find this feeling, this genuine feeling of abundance, hold on to it, cultivate it, return to it again and again, make it your dominant emotional state. Now here's where many people struggle. They assume the feeling of wealth, they imagine their desires fulfilled, but then they try to force their good to come. They become impatient. They look for it desperately. They worry about how it will manifest. My friends, you must learn the art of allowing. Once you have planted the seed in consciousness, once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must allow it to grow. You must trust the process. You must know that it is already done. The wealthiest people I've known all share one surprising trait. It's not what you think, and it's probably the opposite of what you've been taught about success. The trait is this: they don't chase money. They don't desperately seek opportunities. They don't anxiously check their bank accounts every day. Instead, they feel wealthy first, and then they allow wealth to flow to them. They understand that desperation repels what you want, while confidence attracts it. They know that when you chase something, you are affirming that you don't have it. But when you feel as though you already have it, you naturally attract more of it. Let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques for shifting into the consciousness of wealth. The practice of appreciation. Right now, regardless of your circumstances, there are things in your life that represent abundance. Perhaps it's the air you breathe, free and unlimited. Perhaps it's the water that flows from your tap, clean and available. Perhaps it's the food in your refrigerator, the roof over your head, the clothes on your back. Begin to genuinely appreciate these things. Feel grateful for them. Recognize them as evidence of your abundance. When you appreciate what you have, you align yourself with the energy of abundance, and more abundance must flow to you. This is not a trick or a technique. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. What you appreciate, appreciates. What you focus on with gratitude expands in your experience. Now I'm going to reveal the number one mistake that keeps people trapped in financial struggle for their entire lives. Even people who understand these principles often make this devastating error. The mistake is this: they try to manifest money to solve their problems instead of manifesting from a place of already feeling solved. They say, when I have money, then I'll feel secure. But the law of consciousness says, when you feel secure, then you'll have money. They say, when I'm wealthy, then I'll be happy. But the truth is, when you're happy, then you'll be wealthy. They say, when I have abundance, then I'll be generous. But the principle is, when you're generous, then you'll have abundance. You see, my friends, the feeling must come first. The consciousness must change before the circumstances change. This brings me to one of the most transformative practices you can adopt: living in a constant state of gratitude for your wealth, before you see it in your physical experience. Every morning, wake up and feel grateful for your financial abundance. Thank the universe for the money that is flowing to you. Appreciate the wealth that is already yours in consciousness. Feel blessed by your prosperity. Do this not as a technique to get something, but as a recognition of what already is. In consciousness, you are already wealthy. In imagination, you already have everything you desire. Your gratitude is simply an acknowledgement of this truth. And here's the secret that separates those who manifest money quickly from those who struggle for years. It's all about this one invisible shift that changes everything. The shift is from wanting to having, from seeking to being, from becoming to already being. Most people live in a constant state of wanting. They want more money, they want financial security, they want abundance, but wanting implies lack. When you want something, you are affirming that you don't have it. But when you shift into the consciousness of having, when you feel wealthy now, when you live as though you already have what you desire, you align yourself with the frequency of abundance. Now let me share with you another profound realization. Wealth flows most easily to those who expect it to come easily. If you believe that making money must be hard, that you must struggle and sacrifice to be wealthy, then that will be your experience. But if you believe that wealth is your natural state, that money flows to you effortlessly, that abundance is as natural as breathing, then this becomes your reality. The universe is always saying yes to your beliefs. It never argues with your assumptions. If you assume wealth is difficult, the universe will make it difficult. If you assume wealth is easy, the universe will make it easy. I'm about to share with you the most counterintuitive wealth principle of all. It goes against everything society teaches, but it's the key to unlimited abundance. The principle is this: the less you need money, the more it comes to you. When you desperately need money, when you're anxious about it, when you're constantly worried about your finances, you create resistance to its flow. Your need creates a vibration of lack that repels what you want. But when you feel abundant regardless of your bank account, when you feel secure regardless of your circumstances, when you feel wealthy regardless of your current financial situation, you remove all resistance to money's flow. This doesn't mean being irresponsible with money. It means being emotionally free from the need for money, while still appreciating and enjoying it. My friends, I want you to understand that life is a game, a beautiful, magnificent game of creation. Money is simply one of the tokens in this game. When you understand this, you can play the game with joy rather than desperation, with confidence rather than fear, with creativity rather than limitation. The wealthy understand this game. They know that money is just energy, and energy always flows to where it's welcomed and appreciated. They know that abundance is not about having a certain amount in the bank. It's about feeling abundant regardless of the numbers. When you truly embody wealth consciousness, something beautiful happens. Not only does your financial situation improve, but every area of your life begins to flourish. Your relationships become richer, your health improves, your creativity expands, your joy increases. This is because wealth consciousness is really abundance consciousness. And abundance consciousness affects everything in your experience. When you know yourself to be abundant, you experience abundance in all forms. Before we conclude, let me give you the ultimate test of whether you've truly understood what I've shared today. There's one simple question that will reveal everything. The question is this: how do you feel about money right now, in this moment? If you feel anxious, worried, desperate, or fearful about money, you are operating from the consciousness of lack, and no amount of hard work will permanently change your circumstances. But if you feel peaceful, grateful, confident, and abundant about money, you are operating from the consciousness of wealth, and your external circumstances must eventually reflect this internal state. Let me give you a specific daily practice that will transform your relationship with money. Each morning, before you get out of bed, spend 5 minutes feeling grateful for your wealth. Don't focus on what you want to have. Focus on what you already have in consciousness. Feel the peace of financial security. Sense the joy of abundance. Experience the freedom of wealth. Throughout the day, whenever you handle money, whether you're paying a bill, making a purchase, or receiving payment, do so with gratitude and appreciation. See each transaction as a circulation of abundance, not a loss of resources. Before sleep each night, imagine your bank account with the balance you desire. But don't strain or effort to make this happen. Simply enjoy the feeling of having what you want. Fall asleep in the consciousness of wealth. And here's something that will amaze you. When you operate from genuine abundance consciousness, money doesn't just come to you, it multiplies. Opportunities appear that you never could have imagined. People want to give you money. Investments grow beyond expectation. Ideas become profitable ventures. This is because abundance consciousness is creative consciousness. When you feel abundant, you think abundantly. When you think abundantly, you act abundantly. When you act abundantly, you create abundantly. And if you truly understand what I've shared with you today, you'll never work hard to be wealthy again. You'll work from wealth, not for wealth. You'll attract abundance instead of chasing it. You'll become a magnet for money instead of a slave to it. But more than that, you'll understand that wealth is not really about money at all. True wealth is the consciousness of abundance. True wealth is the knowledge that you are provided for, that you are blessed, that you are one with the source of all good. When you have this consciousness, money becomes simply one of the many ways that abundance expresses itself in your life. You may have money, or you may not, but you will always feel wealthy because you will know yourself to be wealthy. The choice is yours, my friends. You can continue to work hard and remain poor, or you can work smart and become wealthy. You can continue to live from your circumstances, or you can live from your imagination. You can continue to chase money, or you can allow money to flow to you. The power is within you. It always has been. It always will be. The question is, will you use it? Your current financial situation is not a reflection of your worth, your capabilities, or your potential. It is simply a reflection of your past thinking, your past beliefs, your past consciousness. But your future financial situation will be a reflection of your present consciousness, your present beliefs, your present thinking. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. Assume the feeling of wealth, and wealth must be your experience. Live from the end, and the end becomes your beginning. Go now, and assume the consciousness of wealth. Feel it, live it, breathe it, until it becomes as natural to you as breathing itself. And remember, you are not limited by your circumstances unless you believe you are. You are not poor unless you assume you are. You are not bound by your past unless you choose to be. You are the creator of your experience. Create wisely, create abundantly, create wealth. The world is waiting for your success. Go claim it. And remember, my friends, that wealth is not a destination. It is a way of being. It is not something you achieve. It is something you are. It is not something you get. It is something you give through the very nature of your abundant consciousness. Be wealthy now, in this moment, in your consciousness, and watch as the universe rearranges itself to reflect this truth back to you in ways more beautiful and abundant than you ever dared to imagine. The time is now. The place is here. The person is you. Go forth and prosper.
Hello and welcome to Best of Lectures YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. My name is Ari, and I am the founder of this channel, dedicated to bringing you cozy animated lectures and teachings on topics like manifestation, money and wealth creation, the law of attraction, and so much more. If you're someone who is looking to unlock your full potential, attract abundance into your life, and create the reality you've been always dreamed of, then you're in the right place. I truly believe that we have the ability to create the life of our dreams through our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions. Whether you are looking to attract more money, meaningful relationships, manifest your dream job, or simply improve your mindset and overall well-being, this channel is for you. I promise to provide you with valuable content that will inspire, motivate, and empower you to take control of your life and create the abundance you deserve. So if you're ready to take the next step towards living your best life, hit that subscribe button and join our community of like-minded people who are committed to creating the life of their dreams. Together we can learn, grow, and create a life filled with success and fulfillment. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Remember, the power to manifest is within you. Let's make magic happen together.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to speak to you about something that will revolutionize how you approach this law, how you impress your subconscious mind, and how you command your reality. I'm going to show you a principle so simple, so profound, yet so completely overlooked that most students of this teaching spend years trying to manifest through sheer force of will when they could be commanding their subconscious mind with surgical precision. This is mind control in its purest form. Not control over others, not manipulation of circumstances, but absolute control over your own consciousness, specifically control over the mechanism through which your subconscious mind receives and executes its orders. And when you understand this principle, when you learn to use it with intention, manifestation becomes inevitable, not hoped for, not wished for, inevitable. Because you will have discovered the master key that unlocks your subconscious mind's creative power without resistance, without delay, without question. Let me begin by revealing something most never realize. Your subconscious mind is being commanded every moment of every day. Not by your affirmations alone, not by your visualizations only, but by something far more subtle, far more persistent, far more powerful. Questions. The questions you ask yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously, are commands to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious, being the obedient servant that it is, must answer them. It has no choice. When you ask yourself, why can't I ever succeed? Your subconscious mind hears that as a command. Show me reasons why I cannot succeed. And it obeys faithfully, immediately, without question. It will search through your memories, your experiences, your perceptions, and it will present you with evidence, proof, seemingly undeniable proof, that you cannot succeed. Not because the evidence was always there, but because you commanded your subconscious to find it. When you ask, what's wrong with me? Your subconscious hears, find everything that is deficient, lacking, broken within me. And it does. It will compile a complete inventory of every flaw, every failure, every limitation, real or imagined, and present it to you as truth. Because that's what you asked for. Do you see what's happening? You are commanding your subconscious mind all day long through the questions you ask. And your subconscious, being the faithful servant, delivers exactly what you've requested. Most people are giving their subconscious mind commands to prove their limitations, to confirm their fears, to validate their unworthiness. And they wonder why their life reflects exactly that. But tonight, you're going to learn to reverse this. You're going to learn to ask questions that command your subconscious to prove your power, confirm your success, validate your worthiness. And when you do this, when you master the art of the properly formed question, manifestation cannot be stopped. Let me show you how this works. Your subconscious mind is not a reasoning mind. It does not analyze, does not judge, does not question. It simply accepts and executes. When you make a statement, an affirmation, your conscious mind often interferes. It says, but is this true? Where's the evidence? This doesn't match my current reality. And that doubt, that questioning, that resistance weakens the impression on your subconscious. But when you ask a question, particularly one that assumes the desired state is already true, something fascinating happens. Your conscious mind cannot resist it. Because a question doesn't demand belief. It only demands an answer. And your subconscious mind, hearing the question, immediately goes to work finding or creating an answer. When you ask, why am I so fortunate? Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't say, but you're not fortunate. It simply begins searching for evidence of your fortune. And what it searches for, it finds. Or if it doesn't find it, it creates it. This is the principle. What you seek, you find. What you ask for, you receive. Not because the universe is generous, but because consciousness creates reality. And a properly formed question directs consciousness with absolute precision. Now let me connect this to everything I've taught you about assumption. I've told you many times you must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must dwell in the state of already being what you desire to be. You must think from the end, not of the end. But here's what most miss. You can encode these assumptions into questions. Instead of affirming, I am wealthy, and fighting with the doubt that arises, you can ask, why am I so abundantly provided for? Do you feel the difference? The statement, I am wealthy, might trigger resistance. No, you're not. Look at your bank account. But the question, why am I so abundantly provided for, triggers a search. Let me find the evidence. Let me notice the provision. Let me recall the blessings. And in that search, in that noticing, you are dwelling in the consciousness of provision. You are assuming abundance by the very act of asking the question. The question itself is an assumption. When you ask, how did I manifest this so easily? You are assuming it's already done. You are assuming ease. You are assuming success. And your subconscious, hearing this assumption in the form of a question, begins to align your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your actions with the reality where that question makes sense. It must close the gap between the question and the answer. And in closing that gap, it creates the manifestation. Here's why questions are so powerful. They create what I call an open loop in consciousness. Your subconscious mind abhors an open loop. It feels incomplete, unfinished, like a story with no ending. So when you ask a question, especially one that assumes your desire is already fulfilled, your subconscious becomes obsessed with closing that loop. It will work day and night, consciously and unconsciously, to find or create an answer that satisfies the question. If you ask, why is everything working out perfectly for me? Your subconscious must find an answer. It must close the loop. It must prove the assumption embedded in the question. And in its search to close that loop, it rearranges your perceptions, your thoughts, your focus, your very reality, until the answer becomes obvious, undeniable, manifest. This is why questions are so effective, where affirmations sometimes fail. An affirmation can be rejected. I am successful. No, I'm not. But a question cannot be rejected. It demands an answer. And in seeking that answer, the mind must dwell in the assumption that makes the question valid. Why am I so successful? Forces your mind to assume success in order to answer the question. There's no way around it. An assumption persisted in becomes fact. Now, not all questions work this way. You must understand how to form them properly. A disempowering question like, why can't I ever get ahead? Is perfectly formed to command your subconscious to prove your limitation. But we want the opposite. We want questions that command your subconscious to prove your power, your abundance, your fulfillment. So the properly formed question must contain these elements. First, it must assume the desired state is already true. Not will I become wealthy, but why am I so wealthy? Not can I manifest love, but why is love flowing to me so effortlessly? Not how do I get successful, but how did I become so successful? Do you see? The question assumes the end is already accomplished. And in assuming, it commands your subconscious to prove that assumption. Second, the question must evoke feeling. Remember, I've told you, feeling is the secret. Consciousness without feeling is sterile, impotent, unable to create. So your questions must not be dry, intellectual exercises. They must stir something within you. Why do I feel so deeply loved? Makes you search for the feeling of being loved. How is it that joy flows through every area of my life? Makes you notice joy, dwell in joy, become joy. The question evokes the feeling, and the feeling impresses the subconscious, and the impression becomes manifestation. Third, the question must be asked from the state you wish to occupy. This is crucial. You're not asking as the person who lacks. You're asking as the person who has. You're not asking, why don't I have money, from a state of poverty. You're asking, why am I so abundantly provided for, from a state of wealth consciousness. The question comes from the end, from the fulfilled state, from the identity you're claiming. And when you ask from that state, you are already dwelling in it. The question itself is the dwelling. So how do you use this in your daily practice? First, become aware of the questions you're already asking unconsciously. Throughout your day, notice the questions running in the background of your mind. Why is this so hard? What's wrong with me? Why can't I ever catch a break? What if this doesn't work? These are commands to your subconscious, and your subconscious is obeying them, proving them, manifesting them. So catch them, notice them, and replace them. Second, deliberately ask questions that assume your desire fulfilled. Not occasionally, not just during your practice time, but throughout your day. When you wake, why do I feel so alive and purposeful today? When you work, how is it that opportunities flow to me so easily? When you interact with others, why do people respond to me with such warmth and respect? When you rest, how is my life unfolding more perfectly than I imagined? Each question is a command to your subconscious. Each question creates an open loop that must be closed through manifestation. Third, ask these questions in the state I call the silence. Before sleep, when your conscious mind is quieting and your subconscious is most receptive, ask your questions, not desperately, not hoping, but knowingly. Ask as the person who already has the answer, because they're already living the reality the question assumes. Why am I so blessed? Asked in the silence, with feeling from the state of being blessed, impresses your subconscious powerfully. And your subconscious, receiving this impression as you drift into sleep, works all night to make it manifest. You wake to find circumstances rearranged, thoughts shifted, opportunities appeared, the answer to your question becoming visible. Let me give you examples of the kinds of questions that command manifestation. These are not questions of doubt, not questions of seeking, but questions that assume the desired state and command your subconscious to prove it. For wealth, why does money flow to me so naturally? How is it that I'm always abundantly provided for? Why do I feel so financially free? For love, why am I so deeply loved? How is it that I attract such wonderful people? Why does love find me wherever I go? For success, how did I manifest this so easily? Why does everything I touch succeed? How is it that opportunities appear exactly when I need them? For health, why do I feel so vibrant and alive? How is my body healing itself so perfectly? Why is wellness my natural state? Do you feel how different these questions are from will I have money? Or can I find love? Or how do I get healthy? The first set assumes. The second set doubts. The first set commands your subconscious to prove fulfillment. The second set commands it to prove lack. Choose your questions wisely, because they are choosing your reality. Now let me show you the most powerful type of question. The one that shifts your entire identity, not just your circumstances. These questions don't ask about having something. They ask about being someone. Who am I now that I live in such abundance? Who have I become that everything flows to me so easily? Who am I that people respond to me with such respect and admiration? These questions force your consciousness to occupy a new identity, not to hope for it, not to wish for it, but to be it in order to answer the question. You cannot answer, who am I now that I live in abundance, without assuming the identity of someone who lives in abundance. And the moment you assume that identity to answer the question, you are dwelling in that state. You are being that person. You are impressing that consciousness on your subconscious, and your subconscious, receiving that impression, must make it manifest. This is the ultimate form of mind control. You are controlling what identity your mind occupies, and your identity determines your reality, always. Now you will ask these questions, and your current circumstances might contradict them. You'll ask, why am I so wealthy? And look at an empty bank account. You'll ask, why am I so loved? And wake up alone. You'll ask, why is everything working out perfectly? And face obstacles. And your conscious mind will say, this is ridiculous. The question doesn't match reality. But here's what you must understand. The question isn't describing your current reality. It's commanding your future reality. You're not asking to get information. You're asking to give instruction. Your subconscious doesn't care whether the answer exists in your current circumstances. It only cares about finding or creating an answer. So when you persist in asking, why am I so wealthy? Despite seeing lack, your subconscious begins to search for wealth, to notice wealth, to attract wealth, to create wealth. The outer world must eventually conform to the inner questioning. But you must persist. You must ask from the end. You must assume the question is valid even when appearances deny it. Because the moment you let appearances dictate your questions, you're back to asking, why am I so poor? And your subconscious obeys that command instead. Hold to your questions. Ask them persistently. Feel them deeply, and watch as your reality rearranges itself to answer them. Let me give you one question that encompasses everything I've taught tonight. One question that, if asked persistently from the proper state, will transform your entire life. Why is my life unfolding more beautifully than I ever imagined? Think about what this question assumes. It assumes your life is unfolding. Present tense. Happening now. It assumes it's unfolding beautifully. Not struggling. Not barely surviving. Beautifully. It assumes it's exceeding your imagination. Not just meeting expectations. Surpassing them. And it asks why. Which commands your subconscious to search for evidence, to notice beauty, to recognize perfection, to dwell in the consciousness of life unfolding magnificently. If you asked only this question, persistently, feelingly, from the state of one whose life is indeed unfolding beautifully, your entire reality would shift to match. Because your subconscious, hearing this command day after day, would have no choice but to close the loop by making it undeniably true. Tonight before you sleep, I want you to choose one question. Just one. A question that assumes your desire is already fulfilled. A question that stirs feeling within you. A question that comes from the state you wish to occupy. It might be, why am I so blessed? Or how is everything working out so perfectly? Or why do I feel so deeply fulfilled? Whatever question resonates with the state you're claiming, ask it. Not once. Ask it repeatedly as you drift into sleep. Let it be the last conscious thought before you surrender to the subconscious. Why am I so blessed? Why am I so blessed? Feel it. Mean it. Ask it from the state of being blessed, not from the state of wanting blessing. And as you fall asleep with that question saturating your consciousness, your subconscious mind begins its work. It searches. It rearranges. It creates. It manifests. All night long, beneath your conscious awareness, it's closing the loop. It's finding the answer. It's making the question true. And you wake to discover your reality shifting. Not dramatically all at once, perhaps, but shifting, moving, rearranging itself to reflect the consciousness you commanded through your question. Do this every night. One question, asked persistently, felt deeply, from the end, and watch your life transform. Your questions are commands to your subconscious mind. When you ask, why can't I succeed? You command proof of failure. When you ask, why am I so blessed? You command proof of blessing. The properly formed question assumes the wish fulfilled, evokes feeling, and comes from the state you wish to occupy. Ask these questions persistently before sleep, and your subconscious must answer by manifesting the reality the question assumes. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.
The purpose of this record is to show you how to use your imagination to achieve your every desire. Most men are totally unaware of the creative power of imagination and invariably bow before the dictates of facts and accept life on the basis of the world without. But when you discover this creative power within yourself, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination and put all things in subjection to it. There is nothing under heaven that is not plastic as potter's clay to the touch of the shaping spirit of imagination. Once a man said to me, Neville, I love to listen to you talk about imagination, but as I do so, I invariably touch the chair with my fingers and push my feet into the rug just to keep my sense of the reality and the profundity of things. Well, undoubtedly he is still touching the chair with his fingers and pushing his feet into the rug. But now let me tell you another one who didn't touch with her fingers and didn't push that foot of hers onto the board of the streetcar. I want to show you today how to put your wonderful imagination right into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and let it remain there and fall asleep in that state. And I promise you from my own experience, you will realize the state in which you sleep if you could actually feel yourself right into the situation of your fulfilled desire and continue therein until you fall asleep. As you feel yourself right into it, remain in it until you give it all the tones of reality, until you give it all the sensory vividness of reality. As you do it, in that state, quietly falling to sleep, and in a way you will never know, you could never consciously devise the means that would be employed, you will find yourself moving across a series of events leading you towards the objective realization of this state. Now here is a practical technique. The first thing you do, you must know exactly what you want in this world. When you know exactly what you want, make as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see and what you would touch and what you would do and physically moving in such a state. For example, suppose I wanted a home, but I had no money, but I still know what I want. Without taking anything into consideration, I would make as lifelike a representation of the home that I would like, with all the things in it that I would want. And then, this night, as I would go to bed, I would in a drowsy, sleepy state, the state that borders upon sleep. I would imagine that I am actually in such a house, that were I to step off the bed, I would step upon the floor of that house. Were I to leave this room, I would enter the room that is adjacent to my imagined room in that house. And while I am touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real, and while I am moving from one room to the other in my imaginary house, I would go sound asleep in that state. If I wanted promotion in my business, I would ask myself what additional responsibilities would be mine were I to be given this great promotion. What would I do? What would I say? What would I see? How would I act? And then in my imagination, I would begin to see and touch and do and act as I would outwardly see and touch and act were I in that position. If I now desired the mate of my life, were I now in search of some wonderful girl or some wonderful man, what would I actually find myself doing that would imply that I have found my state? For instance, suppose now I was a lady. One thing I would definitely do, I would wear a wedding ring. I would take my imaginary hands, and I would feel the ring that I would imagine to be there. And I would keep on feeling it and feeling it until it seemed to me to be solidly real. I would give it all the sensory vividness I am capable of giving anything. And while I am feeling my imaginary ring, which implies I am married, I would sleep. You know, people are totally unaware of this fantastic power of the imagination. But when man begins to discover this power within him, he never plays the part that he formerly played. He doesn't turn back and become just the reflective life. From here on in, he is the affective life. Most of us are afraid to imagine ourselves as important and noble individuals, secure in our contribution to the world, just because at the very moment that we start our assumption, reason and our senses deny the truth of our assumption. We seem to be in the grip of an unconscious urge, which makes us cling desperately to the world of familiar things and resist all that threatens to tear us away from our familiar and seemingly safe moorings. But I appeal to you to try it. If you try it, you will discover this great wisdom of the ancients, for they told it to us in their own strange, wonderful, symbolical form. But unfortunately you and I misinterpreted their story and took it for history when they intended it as instruction to simply achieve our every objective. You see, imagination puts us inwardly in touch with a world of states. These states are existent, they are present now, but they are mere possibilities while we think of them. But they become overpoweringly real when we think from them and dwell in them. You know, there's a wide difference between thinking of what you want in this world and thinking from what you want. Let me tell you, when I first heard of the strange and wonderful power of the imagination, it was in 1933 in New York City. An old friend of mine taught it to me. He turned to the 14th of John, and this is what he read. "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. He explained to me that this central character of the Gospels was human imagination. That mansion was not a place in some heavenly house, but simply my desire. If I would make a living representation of the state desired, and then enter that state and abide in that state, I would realize it. At the time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money. He explained to me that if I would that night, as I slept in New York City, assume that I was sleeping in my earthly father's house in Barbados, and go sound asleep in that state, that I would realize my trip. Well, I took him at his word and tried it. For 1 month, night after night, as I fell asleep, I assumed I was sleeping in my father's home in Barbados. At the end of my month, an invitation from my family came, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados the early part of December of that year. From then on, I knew I had found this Savior in myself. The old man told me that it would never fail. Even after it happened, I could hardly believe that it would not have happened anyway. That's how strange this whole thing is. On reflection, it happens so naturally. You begin to feel or to tell yourself, well, it would have happened anyway, and you quickly recover from this wonderful experience of yours. It never failed me if I would give the mood, the imagined mood, sensory vividness. I could tell you unnumbered case histories to show you how it works, but in essence it's simple. You simply know what you want. When you know what you want, you're thinking of it. That is not enough. You must now begin to think from it. Well, how could I think from it? I am sitting here, and I desire to be elsewhere. How could I, while sitting here physically, put myself in imagination at a point in space removed from this room and make that real to me? Quite easily. My imagination puts me in touch inwardly with that state. I imagine that I am actually where I desire to be. Now, can I tell that I am there? There is only one way to prove that I am there. For what a man sees when he describes his world is as he describes it relative to himself. So what the world looks like depends entirely upon where I stand when I make my observation. So if, as I describe my world, it is related to that point in space I imagine that I am occupying, then I must be there. I am not there physically, no, but I am there in my imagination, and my imagination is my real self. And where I go in imagination and make it real, there I shall go in the flesh also. When in that state I fall asleep, it is done. I have never seen it fail. So this is the simple technique on how to use your imagination to realize your every objective. Here is a very healthy and productive exercise for the imagination. Something that you should do daily. Daily relive the day as you wish you had lived it, revising the scenes to make them conform to your ideals. For instance, suppose the day's mail brought disappointing news. Revise the letter. Mentally rewrite it and make it conform to the news you wish you had received. Or suppose you didn't get the letter you wish you had received. Write yourself the letter and imagine that you received such a letter. This art of revision can be used in any department of your life. Take the matter of health. Suppose you were ill. Bring before your mind's eye the image of a friend. Put upon that face an expression which implies that he or she sees in you that which you want the whole world to see. Just imagine he is saying to you that he has never seen you look better, and you reply, I have never felt better. Suppose your foot was injured. Then do this. Construct mentally a drama which implies that you are walking, that you're doing all the things that you would do if the foot was normal, and do it over and over and over until it takes on the tones of reality. Whenever you do in your imagination that which you would like to do in the outer world, that you will do in the outer world. The one requisite is to arouse your attention in a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in the revised action. You will experience an expansion and refinement of the senses by this imaginative exercise, and eventually achieve vision in the inner world. The abundant life promised us is ours to enjoy now, but not until we have the sense of the Creator as our imagination can we experience it. Persistent imagination, centered in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling the intention. Every stage of man's progress is made by the conscious, voluntary exercise of the imagination. Then you will understand why all poets have stressed the importance of controlled, vivid imagination. Listen to this one by the great William Blake. In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Try it, and you too will prove that your imagination is the Creator.